So in this context, I would just like to give a brief overview related to teaching methodologies. I think initially you had this extremely didactic approach to teaching, lecture-oriented method, and then there was a slight refinement which was brought in, whereby the teacher would be explaining the general principles, and then he would be coaxing the students to come up with some examples which would be substantiating the general principle, and he would be giving them cues and hints, etc. And then over a period of time, there was a further refinement and sophistication which came in. So you had this didactic approach which was followed by the deductive approach, where the teacher would be giving the general principles and clarifying them. And then you had the sophistication brought in through the inductive approach. So in the inductive approach, you have the teacher giving certain examples, certain specific examples, and these examples were not randomly chosen. These are examples where there would be an underlying pattern or paradigm, and then the teacher, through his skills, through his questioning skills and his ability to elicit responses, would be encouraging and coaxing the students to come up with a general principle or the underlying principle which would explain the common pattern, the common point of intersection with respect to the examples he had cited. So this is a question of going from the particular to the general, and this would really boost up the morale of the students by making them get the feeling that they are able to actually derive the general principle, and this would act as a kind of a morale booster for them. I would be interested, since the paper pertains to teaching methodologies, if in the recent past, if you have had a further refinement and if there has been a paradigm shift, and I'm not talking about educational technology here because it has been done to death, if there has been a radical innovation in the field of teaching methodology from a purely educational philosophical point of view, from a purely theoretical point of view. So this is one question which I would like to pose. The other question is, we are all obsessed with outcome-based approaches, whether it be AEES or CBSE or the world at large. We are all judged on the basis of objective parameters, but then there is something called deep learning. And in many cases, we'll have to be very patient for results, and in many cases, the results will not immediately manifest themselves. It may take a few years for the results to manifest themselves. And in many cases, learning, some aspects or micro aspects of learning may not be amenable and may not lend themselves to objectively measurable criteria or quantifiable criteria, etc. So I think in that case, should we be so single-mindedly obsessed with the outcome-based approach, or should we modify it and slightly dilute it to an extent, because there are many aspects of deep learning which will take years to manifest. So this is, I think, also related to the question which was posed by the teacher a few minutes back. So this is one aspect, and then we also talk about trends in education, global trends and preferences of students. So when it comes to modifying the teaching methodologies, should we be factoring in the global trends, and if so, to what extent should we be factoring in the global trends? And students' preferences, the public's preferences, the parents' preferences, should they be taken into consideration? Because in many cases, many of these preferences may not be desirable and might be even counterproductive. So these are the questions which need to be answered. And I would now call upon Dr. Kapil Krishnaji Gajbhiye to address this question and present his paper. And I would invite all of you to give him a rousing applause by bringing your hands together to clap him.
It's somewhat like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening when we have a snap, a short sleep. Then do I wish my family and say good morning. I wanted to say good morning right in the morning and wanted to be here. But कभी किसी को मुकम्मल जहाँ नहीं मिलता, कहीं ज़मीं तो कहीं आसमां नहीं मिलता. So it was just like I wanted a huge audience, but good that some of your claps, they give me a good impression that you are all active. And we want a classroom also like that, isn't it? When everyone is quite so active. It's not just about listening, it's also participating in it. Starting with this, I'm just opening this here. Okay, going back. Going back. Well, first of all, I express my gratitude and thanks to the organizer for organizing this conclave, because it's for the first time that is it's a novel kind of endeavor that AES has undertaken, and it is very intellectual talk taking place over here. And in most cases, as one of my professors had rightly said, we cease to be learners as soon as we get a job. And that's true. It happens even more with the teachers as well. The moment we become teachers, we feel that we have already upper hand and there is hardly any need now to refer to anything. Once we are there in the classroom, there's like dictator kind of opinion as already posed over here. So we turn out to be more dictators and we expect all of them to be the good listeners. But the trends have changed. And with this, I bring my topic over here. Trends in education and effective methodologies for today's learners. Actually, paper presentation is not generally done with PPT, but I was one of them, those who had suggested that all of us should have PPTs because we have time constraints. So what we are doing is we are making the huge content which would otherwise turn out to be very, very boring, because all of us are not from that particular field of research field, wherein all do understand what is research and how it is done and how it is to be presented. Wherever it is conference and the paper presentation is there, the paper is read by line. And here we are all from diverse kind of way of thinking and different choices. Like some of you have come for only display of something, and then only for teaching aid. But not all of us have come for paper presentation. So the listeners are not, all they would like, line by line. If it goes line by line, you just see. Then I would be reading this introduction, then I'll go to the next point, then dynamics. Each line I would read over here. And this is somewhat like 7 pages, and the last one is bibliography. So with this, what would happen? It would make you boring. Feel very much bored. And so the idea of presenting it only through PPT is the most apt one. And that is why I opened initially that, so that you come to know that things can also be very much boring, but we change the methodology as per the need. The need of today's discussion, the need of this conclave is to tell all of us what we can do when we go back to our places, especially there in the classroom. It's not only the traditional method and methodology would work. We have to change. Adaptability. Our children, small kids, they are more adaptable than we, the youngsters, and then the adult ones. So what we have to do is we have to make ourselves more adaptive to the situation. As is the situation, nothing one streamlined kind of project would work once we go to the classroom. So we have to sometimes change the methodology then and there only. So we should be that adaptive. So this paper, this research paper, it works on this particular area. What methodologies, can be important, what trends are going on, and what would be more important in terms of the learners. Here, this is slide number 1, wherein you just come to know what is the topic. But here, important, quote goes of Rabindranath Tagore. I hope mic is functioning quite well. Yeah. Rabindranath Tagore says, ki, it is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. The tone for me has been set since yesterday. Everyone is saying ki your classroom should be joyful. Whether we make the classroom joyful is the question now. Then how to make the classroom joyful? That is what we have to just, find with respect to our content, the content that we are taking there in the classroom. This philosophy, when we quote somebody, this means that one has, undergone the process of thinking for many, many years, and then comes, those words of that scholar becomes so popular and so known. So these words for a century together we have been, utilizing. What I'm trying to tell you is, when I showed to you the PDF, it was not that I did make a mistake. It was, kuch galti se mistake karte hai. That's what I had done. In order to tell you, if that text appears to you, it is not more attractive. But now you find it is some more attractive than the text. I have taken the images from AI. And that has made it little more, more relevant to the topic. And it catches the attention of the audience as well. That is what we have got to do there in the classroom. Well, this paper, focuses on the changing landscape of education. If I say landscape of education, so here pictorial image is also there. See how the image tries to tell us the whole world, the landscape, how it is being seen in today's time. Competency-based instruction, then some few lines I have highlighted, then digital natives we have, then they differ significantly from previous generations. So this is what we have to understand. As our children, our own children, they differ from our opinion. If we have to buy one desktop at home, our children would come and say, कि desktop is an outdated idea, go for a laptop, better go for a tablet. And then we'll find out several such reasons why this is more appropriate, why it is not appropriate. So they are well informed. They are digital natives. Whole the world is there in their hands, on the fingertips, do they have. What happens is, we as teachers sometimes turn out to be a little more rigid, and we are very much complacent with what methodology we have been following. And we don't like anybody questioning it. A good teacher should be a good learner first. So for being the first learners first, we have to understand how our learners are. So today's learners are entirely different from the learners what we had experienced, 5 decades ago. Every 5 years you will find a drastic change in the learner and their approach. So we have to see as to how they would be able to keep engaged. We have to teach the content, but at the same time it should be even more engaging. Next, I wanted to tell over here is, as they differ from the previous generation, so how do they differ? They differ both, in different manners, socially, cognitively, emotionally, and intellectually. I would like to share one real story. On 18th, we had annual day. Shrijan Nair, last year he was our 10th standard student. Yesterday, when we were sitting in this hall, we got a news. He's only 16 years. He passed away. He was preparing for medical examination. He was staying with his mother in Mumbai. Only child. When he came on 18th on the stage, I could notice something. Well, I didn't have an interaction because just it was time to just give the prize, and then he just left. But there was something which I could notice. It seemed that he was under kind of pressure. Do children have pressure in today's time? They do have. Please accept it. It's not our times when only pressure parents used to have it, and children would not undergo all this kind of difficult times. Children have the pressure of their parent, that we call parental pressure. They have societal pressure. They have peer pressure. And then the last yesterday's post lunch session was there. The speaker said one of her friends could not take the failure, but she was there to take the failure. Here, as teachers, we are basically the mentors, and we are the philosophers. We are the guide. We have to understand that emotional aspect of our children. It may appear little, weird to us when they come to us with a very tiny problem, but we do not know how difficult that problem can turn out to be. That very child, one who passed away just yesterday, you try to understand how emotional, difficulties he must have faced during that time. What not, he must have gone through. Is it that the parental, we don't know whether it was parental pressure, whether it was peer pressure or whatever it is, but pressure was of course there. So that is what I say. We have to be the learners first. We have to understand. My paper, research paper, is broadly speaking about that very idea, and as we understand, we would change. And then these learners are basically tax savvy, they are multitaskers, and they want hands-on. The real life applications do they want, and collaborative. So peer learning and teamwork. I'll just talk about the last part in the slide. Peer learning. Peer learning is something which we all can very easily do it, and that we have been doing in some of our schools, especially in my class also. Sometimes I do it. Here, good student sitting beside the other one, and then helping the concept to be understood. We had discussed multilingualism and the teacher's language not being properly comprehended, but it is, the friend's language can be understood quite so well. Here comes the role of, their own friends, helping them understand. I'll show you one slide later on. This is like emotional. This aspect I just now talked about. They are very expressive, but at deep down somewhere they are facing a lot of troubles. They cannot speak to their parents. They feel there is, that age difference is there, and because of which we, as parents, we can be friendly, but we cannot be friends, isn't it? That is the fact. So as far as possible, if we understand their difficulties, I think more of the problems can be solved. One anecdote I'll just add to it. I was in junior college. When I was teaching, it was old wing, and it was drizzling at that time. One student on front bench was looking outside, left side. The door was there, and he was just looking at it continuously, and he was having a smile on his face, and then a bit of surprise was also there on his face. As a traditional teacher, I would have, scolded him and would have said, why are you passing your time? No, it's something important I am discussing over here. Why are you looking outside? I could have said so. But पता नहीं, मेरा भी दिमाग थोड़ा सा विचित्र ही चलता है, जैसे अपने बच्चे विचित्र हैं. So I said, is it something that you happen to see a snake outside that you are very much interested? He just shook his neck. And actually there was snake. Yeah, it had coiled to the pole over there, and it was 6 feet. And after 5 minutes, the bell was about to ring. And when the moment he said yes, the whole class was right behind me. And I was just putting my hands like this. Please don't go out. Immediately, I said, is there anyone who can catch the snake? Then there was one boy. Somebody said, sir, I know. There is one boy he's there in physics lab. Can I go and call him? I just said, okay. See, of course, I cannot take a risk of asking a child to go and ask him to catch the snake which has come there in the school. But there was somebody who could do it. So is it not that when we try to understand them, there may be something different than what we generally feel may not be? So our biggest job is, in today's time, when everybody is digitally empowered, when the students can have access to the best of the lectures, we cannot turn out to be those traditional lectures, right? And we have to be globally aware. Globally aware. They have, everything right at hand. And so we are the ones who can make our classes quite so interesting. And these key learner expectations, they expect something from us, personalization, then relevance, AI comfort is there, and then career focus. Ethical guidance is something very important. The last line I'm going to read, fast learners, slow learners, and then CWSN, multilingual students making differentiated. We have variety of learners. So the teacher is someone who is expected to be knowing each and everything, each and every aspect of this particular area. We can't say, I don't know. We can't say, I cannot go beyond this. We can't say, now I'm 50 years of age, now learning something new is not my business, and I cannot do, and whatever I have done in the past has brought the results, and everything is well with that technology. I will not change. This rigidity will not work in today's time. So policy-driven education, I already, I don't know, somewhere I felt I may get very less time, so I have highlighted something. The shift from road, this is, I think, discussed a lot, so I'll not touch upon it. Emphasize, this is also discussed a lot. Requires teachers' readiness. I'm just talking about this part. Teachers' readiness in each and every area of aspect of, teaching learning. We have to be ready first to learn. We have to ready to adopt the technology. We had taken one CBSE training for one day, wherein we were taught notebook LM, and we were taught to convert that text into beautiful video or quizzes. I went back home and I tried it. It does work. I took it to the class and it did work. Okay. Promoting higher order thinking. Yeah. I'm just ending up because I understand you are quite so hungry. Buddha said कि खाली पेट knowledge कोई gain नहीं करता है. That's why I'm just rushing up. I'm just skipping each and everything. Each and everything I'm skipping, and I'm skipping this one as well. And I'm just coming to an end and just showing something to you. Help करेगा? Which one? No. Yes or no? Volume, can there be volume here? Volume cannot be increased. Can there be volume, sir, here? No, not possible. Possible. Okay, anyways, I understand you are even more hungry. If it had worked, it would be wonderful. These are my regular classes. What is happening over here is, I had already taught the chapter and then had asked the students, different approaches. I had asked the students to be ready for discussion, like we had panel discussion today. I had told them that this chapter would be discussed by you, and one of them is the moderator. He is just giving the hints on different topics, and that topic is being discussed over here. All the children, when they discuss that particular chapter, the teacher, what teacher has taught, maybe some more points beyond that, and even more interesting point may also come up. I mean to say, if this can be done, why we are still holding on to only old patterns? This is another example. It was of the last year's batch, wherein the students, we had divided that class in 4. We generally have 4 lanes, and those 4 lanes, they were given different questions on that particular topic, and it was a competition among the teams. Whichever team gives more answer and better answer would be the winner. That's what I wanted to say. Change your methodology, try to be more adaptive, and our classrooms of AEES will turn out to be even more interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can remain here in case they want to pose some questions. Yeah. So I once again invite the audience to bring their hands together to give him a rousing applause. Very well presented paper, and at the same time he has also given us practical examples which would illustrate the point that one needs to be adaptive, and also examples for innovative teaching methodologies. And just to add and supplement to what he has said, I was just reminded of something which I heard somewhere. There's a quotation which goes like this: parents are the first teachers and teachers are the second parents. Therefore, we should not be living in an ivory tower, nor should we be talking down to the students. And in fact, somebody said, and normally what happens is, if a bright student poses a lot of questions and the teacher lacks the expertise to answer the questions, then the teacher tries to browbeat the child, tries to indirectly bully him, and then shout him down using his lung power. But you see, there are no stupid questions. There are only stupid answers. There is no question which is a stupid question, but you can have stupid answers. What could have happened is either the teacher has not understood the question, or he would not be knowing the answer to the question. Now, I would invite a maximum of 1 question, minimum as well as the maximum remains 1. You can pose a question to Dr. Kapil Krishnaji Gajbhiye, and then we can wind down the session.